Namaskar, good evening. You're watching The News with me, Bhawna Nayar. The Supreme Court stays all sedition trials. Delhi High Court verdict on marital rape. And the police given orders to shoot to maintain order in Sri Lanka. These and much more in the next half an hour. We'll get you 360-degree news from across the globe. First up, the top headlines we are tracking at this hour. Supreme Court order stays on sedation law. New FIRs will not be registered till review. Next hearing in the third week of July. Delhi High Court gives a split verdict on declaring marital rape a crime. Says matter will have to be heard by the Supreme Court. Even critics can't deny that Prime Minister Modi is a phenomenon, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu at the release of the Modi at 20 Dreams Meet Delivery. Vice President asserts that Modi has converted developmental initiatives into mass movements. Speaker of Lok Sabha visits in Arunachal Pradesh, inauguration of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Conference on Thursday. And cyclonic storm Assani weakens, moves towards Andhra Pradesh, heavy rain likely in Odisha, West Bengal. High alert in 5 districts including Malkangiri. Let us now take a quick look at more important news stories of the day. New income tax rules ban mandatory for withdrawing rupees 20 lakh opening current account. Cyclone Assani washes ashore mystery gold-coloured chariot in Andhra Pradesh, Srikakulam district. Nipah alert in Kerala, Health Department to increase monitoring in all districts. Supreme Court says warrant issued by Allahabad High Court against Noida CEO IAS Ritu Maheshwari. Man who allegedly helped Punjab rocket grenade attackers detained. Government making all efforts to meet defence requirements through domestic procurement, says Minister of State for Defence Ajay Bhatt. 4 people including college principal arrested in Bihar Public Service Commission paper leak case. Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha approves age relaxation for J&K combined competitive exam. Karnataka CM Baswaraj Bommai holds curtain raiser event of Global Investors Meet in New Delhi. 2 terrorists shot dead by security forces in Anantnag, Jammu and Kashmir. And now news in detail. The Supreme Court on Wednesday ordered a stay on all proceedings in sedation cases. It also said that no FIR will be registered under Section 124A, be it by the centre or the state governments. The bench said all pending cases, appeals and proceedings relating to the charge of sedation should be kept on hold. It added that the relief given to the accused by the courts will continue. The petitions challenging the validity of the provision will be heard in the third week of July, to allow time to the centre to revisit its position. Earlier, appearing for the centre, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta suggested that an officer of the rank of Superintendent of Police may be given the responsibility of supervising the FIRs registered on the charges of sedition. The top court is hearing various petitions challenging the constitutionality of the sedition law. Moving on, shortly after the order, Union Law Minister Kiran Rijiju said that the government has made its position very clear and also informed the court about the intention of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the matter.
We have made our position very clear, and we also informed the Honourable Court about the intention of the Honourable Prime Minister. One thing I must say is that we respect the court, we respect the independence of the court, but there are things which is called Lakshman Rekha. All the organs of the state must respect each other.
You were hearing Union Law Minister Kiran Rijiju speaking that Lakshman Rekha should be respected for all. Moving on, the Delhi High Court gave a 1:1 split verdict in the case of declaring marital rape as a crime. While one judge supported the repeal of the provision, another said that it was unconstitutional. The division bench allowed the parties to file petitions in the Supreme Court. The petitions challenge the constitutionality of excluding marital rape under Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code on grounds that such an exception discriminates against married women who are sexually harassed by their husbands. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Thursday described Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a leader who has shown the world how to turn dreams into a reality. Releasing the book Modi at 20, Dreams Meet Delivery in Delhi, the Vice President said that Narendra Modi is a phenomenon. He said in the last 20 years after independence, Modi has carved a special place in India. The Vice President said that the book brings out various facets of Modi's personality, including his ideology, his proactive approach, and outstanding transformational leadership.
The people, the younger generation of the country, they should know the in and outs of the great contribution made by the Prime Minister. He is the Prime Minister of the country, elected Prime Minister, and elected each time with more majority. And the country today is happy that India is respected and recognized worldwide thanks to Narendra Bhai Modi's leadership.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah said that the nation comes first for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He asserted that Prime Minister does not do vote bank politics, but works to bring the best results by moving forward with higher goals in the constructive manner. In his address at the launch of the book Modi at 20, Dreams Meet Delivery, he said that the Prime Minister is the undisputed leader of the country whose authenticity and transparency cannot be questioned even by his political opponents.
व्यक्ति अपने आसपास का ही सोचता है, अपने परिवारजनों का ही सोचता है, परिवार के बाद समाज का सोचता है। यहां पर उल्टा है, उन्होंने कहावत को गलत साबित कर दिया है। इन्होंने समाज को ही अपना परिवार मानकर आगे बढ़े हैं। देश की राजनीति में ऐसा नेता दूरबीन लेकर भी ढूंढ नहीं पाते जिसके परिवार को कोई जानता ही न हो, परिवार के किसी व्यक्ति का नाम कहीं पर किसी ने सुना न हो। तो ब्लड इज थिकर देन वाटर, ये कहावत को मोदी जी ने गलत साबित किया है।
Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla is on a tour of Arunachal Pradesh. He will inaugurate a convention of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association in the Legislative Assembly on Thursday. Rajya Sabha Deputy Speaker Harivansh, Arunachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly Speaker Pasang Dorji Sona, Chief Minister Pema Khandu will participate in the program. Om Birla will also inaugurate the plaque of the State-of-the-Art Museum of Arunachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly. He will visit the Legislative Assembly Library and Exhibition and Jawaharlal Nehru State Museum in the Vidhan Sabha complex. On reaching the Raj Bhavan in Arunachal Pradesh, Chief Minister Pema Khandu welcomed the Lok Sabha Speaker. The Speaker of the Legislative Assembly was also present on the occasion. Cyclone Assani has intensified into a storm and has moved towards north coastal Andhra Pradesh. Its effect was visible up to 34 kilometers in Narsapur district in the state. The storm is likely to cause flooding in the low-lying areas of Krishna district, East and West Godavari districts and Yanam in Puducherry. There is also a possibility of heavy rain in many parts of Odisha and West Bengal. Odisha has declared a high alert in 5 southern districts of Malkangiri, Koraput, Rayagada, Ganjam and Gajapati. 22 NDRF teams are deployed in West Bengal, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, while 28 teams have been asked to be on standby. Meanwhile, the Meteorological Department in Kolkata said that the cyclone is likely to cause light to moderate rains in West Bengal. Fishermen have been asked to stay away from the sea for the next few days. Several flights to Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam, Jaipur and Mumbai have been cancelled at Chennai Airport. And some national news now. Oman's Minister of Commerce, Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf, called on Union Minister Piyush Goyal. The two leaders co-chaired the 10th meeting of the India-Oman Joint Commission. Discussions were held on strengthening economic ties in many areas. India emphasized increasing trade cooperation. Moving on, India has been elected as the chair of the Association of Asian Election Authorities from 2022 to 2024. The decision was taken at the recently held executive meeting of the General Assembly in Manila, Philippines. Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jairam Thakur called on Prime Minister Modi in Delhi on Wednesday. He apprised the Prime Minister about the progress of several ongoing projects in Himachal Pradesh. The Chief Minister also invited him for the inauguration of a project in the state. 2,897 new cases of COVID-19 were reported on Wednesday. Patients undergoing treatment in the country has come down to 19,494, which is 0.05% of the total cases. In the last 24 hours, number of the patients under treatment have gone down by 143. The last rites of Santur Maestro Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma were conducted in Mumbai on Wednesday. His body was kept in Juhu for the last glimpse of the people. After a guard of honor, his mortal remains was cremated at the Pavan Hans funeral site at Ville Parle. The Vice President and Prime Minister have greeted people on National Technology Day. The day commemorates the anniversary of the 1998 nuclear test at Pokhran. Prime Minister Modi expressed his gratitude to the scientists of the nation and their efforts for making this successful Pokhran test in 1998. Slipping into a short break here, next we'll bring up will bleaching caused by global warming rob the Great Barrier Reef of its UNESCO heritage status. All this after this short break. You stay tuned to Sansad TV. Welcome back. You're watching the news, and now the developments related to worsening crisis in Sri Lanka. The Indian High Commission in Colombo on Wednesday dismissed reports about New Delhi sending its troops to Sri Lanka amid the unprecedented economic crisis in the island nation. This was on a day when Sri Lanka deployed the army to quell the rising protest in the country.
Sri Lankan authorities deployed armoured vehicles and troops on the streets of Colombo on Wednesday. Security forces have been ordered to shoot those deemed to be participating in the violence. A sporadic act of arson and vandalism continued despite a strict nationwide curfew that began Monday evening. The wave of violence swept the nation after pro-government mobs attacked peaceful protesters. Armoured trucks with soldiers riding atop were seen rolling into some areas of Colombo, where the government is facing its severest challenge in decades as the country plunges into economic crisis and protests. The Defence Ministry denied allegations of a military takeover at a news conference jointly held with the country's army and navy chiefs. A day after Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned as Prime Minister, India took a nuanced view of the developments in Sri Lanka, saying it will always be guided by the best interests of the people of Sri Lanka, expressed through democratic processes. The Indian Commission in Colombo also denied rumours in Sri Lanka that Mahinda Rajapaksa and his family had been flown to India in a helicopter. The Ministry of External Affairs said that in keeping with its neighbourhood-first policy, India has extended this year a loan support worth over $3.5 billion to the people of Sri Lanka for helping them overcome their current difficulties. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And let's now get you all the latest developments from the Russia-Ukraine war, which is showing no signs of abating. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that he does not see any peace talks over ending the war taking place in the immediate future, but added the time will come when such decisions take place. Guterres told in a news conference in Vienna that the war will not last forever and there will be a time when peace negotiations will take place. But he added that he does not see it happening in the immediate future. Hungary has said that the European Union's proposal on oil sanctions against Russia would destroy the Hungarian economy. Hungary alleged that the European Commission does not have a solution to the huge problems that such a move would create for it. Hungary could agree to such an embargo if it applied to maritime oil shipments, and all shipments of Russian oil via pipelines would be fully exempted. Germany's foreign minister has reopened her country's embassy in Kiev that has closed more than 2 months ago following the Russian invasion. Annalena Baerbock said that on Tuesday, the diplomatic mission would work with a skeleton staff. Baerbock is the first German cabinet member to visit Ukraine since the start of the war. She pledged further support to Kiev, including when it comes to investigating and prosecuting war crimes. The UN's top human rights body will hold a special session this week in Geneva following a request from Ukraine to discuss the worsening human rights situation in the countries stemming from Russia's aggression. The 47-member Human Rights Council said more than one-third of member states, the required minimum, backed the call that will pave the way for Thursday's session at the United Nations European headquarters in Geneva. Ukrainian officials say that around 100 civilians still remain trapped at the Azovstal steel mill in Mariupol despite earlier reports that all have been evacuated. Donetsk regional governor said everyone in Mariupol de facto is held hostage by the Russians and occupiers take advantage of it, constantly changing the conditions of the evacuation. He also said that civilians are still trapped at the Azovstal mill, that is the last pocket of resistance in the embattled port city. The head of the European Investment Bank says that Ukraine is currently sitting on 8 billion euros worth of wheat that it can't export because of the war and it's lost access to the Black Sea. Speaking during a press conference at the European Commission in Brussels on Tuesday, Werner Hoyer said that unblocking Ukraine's seaport is crucial to fix the war-torn country's trade crisis. Some other global news updates in this quick wrap. The Great Barrier Reef Marine Authority released its annual report on Tuesday. It said 91% of the areas surveyed have been bleached. Last year, the UNESCO decided to downgrade the reef's World Heritage status because of the damage caused by the climate change. But Australia managed to garner enough global support to defer the move. The question now is, will the issue find a place on the World Heritage Committee's agenda at the annual meeting next month? Take a look at this report.
Global warming bleached more than 90% of the Great Barrier Reef coral this year. This was the fourth such mass event in 7 years in the world's largest coral reef ecosystem. Unfortunately, the bleaching is being seen through the La Nina weather pattern that is associated with cooler Pacific Ocean temperatures. In 2016, 2017 and 2020, La Nina damaged two-thirds of the coral in the famed reef of Australia's eastern coast. Last December was the first month of the Southern Hemisphere summer. It was the hottest December the reef experienced since 1900. By late February, a marine heat wave had set in. The bleaching that followed even prompted a United Nations team to visit the reef in March to assess whether its World Heritage listing should be downgraded. The Great Barrier Reef accounts for 10% of the world's coral reef ecosystems. In a network of 2,500 reefs covering over 348,000 square kilometers. Coral is made up of tiny animals called polyps that are fed by microscopic algae that live inside the reefs and are sensitive to changes in water temperatures. The algae provides the reefs with their color and produce sugars through photosynthesis that provide the coral with most of its nutrients. Rising ocean temperatures turn the chemicals that the algae produce into toxins. The coral turns white as it spits out the poisonous algae. Heat stress beyond a few weeks can lead the coral to die of starvation. Prime Minister Scott Morrison's Liberal Party is aiming to reduce emissions by 26% to 28% below 2005 levels by 2030. The opposition Labour Party has promised to reduce emissions by 43% by the end of the decade. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And some more important news from across the world. The World Health Organization Director General has said that China's zero-COVID strategy is not sustainable. Speaking in a news conference on Tuesday, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus said that because We have now a good knowledge, understanding of the virus as well as good tools to fight COVID-19. Governments should be transitioning into another strategy. Following Tedros' remarks, Shanghai reaffirmed on Wednesday that it would maintain the zero COVID approach to eliminate a waning outbreak in China's largest city. Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the namesake son of the ousted Philippine dictator, claimed victory in this week's presidential elections on Wednesday and faced early calls to ensure respect for human rights, the rule of law and democracy. Marcos Jr. garnered over 31 million votes in an unofficial count from Monday's polls in what's projected to be one of the strongest mandates for a Philippine president in decades. His vice presidential running mate, Sara Duterte, appeared to have also won by a landslide. A journalist from Al Jazeera was shot and killed while covering an Israeli raid in the occupied West Bank town of Jenin on Wednesday. Shireen Abu Akleh, a well-known Palestinian female reporter for the broadcaster's Arabic language channel, was shot and died soon afterward. Ali Samodi, another Palestinian journalist, was hospitalized in a stable condition after being shot in the back. The Qatar-based network called on the international community to condemn and hold the Israeli occupation forces accountable for deliberately targeting and killing their colleague. Military officers admitted on Tuesday their responsibility for extrajudicial killings in Colombia between 2002 and 2008. Military personnel reportedly kidnapped and killed more than 100 young people and peasants whom they passed off as guerrillas killed in combat. Retired members of the military said that they were guilty by omission for not being aware of what was happening in their military bases. Politically motivated crimes reported in Germany rose 23% last year to this year's before. Germany's interior minister said that the increase included a sharp rise in crimes motivated by right-wing or left-wing ideology. Overall, Germany had 55,048 politically motivated crimes last year. Anti-Semitic crimes rose 29% compared to the previous year, numbering 3,027, the minister said. Crimes against Jews are mostly committed by far-right extremists but also by Islamist-influenced and left-wing extremists. And now all the action from the world of sports. Starting from cricket, in the 57th match of the Indian Premier League played in Pune last evening, the Gujarat Titans defeated the Lucknow Super Giants by 62 runs. Gujarat scored 144 for 4 with opener Shubham Gill remaining not out on 63 off 49 balls. Lucknow Super Giants had a poor evening with bat folding for 82 in 13 overs and 5 balls. Only 3 among LSG batters, including number 11 Avesh Khan, crossed double figures. Rashid Khan took 4 for 24. India were blanked 0-5 by Korea in their final Group D tie of the Uber Cup in Bangkok today. The Indian women had already booked a berth in the quarter-final after beating Canada and the United States of America, but they missed out on the top spot in Group D after an ordinary showing against Korea. PV Sindhu, the two-time Olympic medalist, lost to 20-year-old world number 4, Ahn Young, for the 4th consecutive loss, beaten 21-15, 21-14 this time. India will take on host Thailand in quarter-finals. And from the field of badminton, Indian men's badminton team too had an off day in the Thomas Cup. Though they gave Chinese Taipei a tough fight but lost the tie 2-3. Lakshya Sen went down fighting in the opening match against Chou Tian-Chen. Satvik and Chirag then lost in the doubles to Olympic champions Li and Wang. Kidambi Srikanth scored a point for the India, keeping the tie alive. Arjun MR and Dhruv Kapila then fought valiantly but fell short eventually. With that, India had lost the tie 1-3. HS Pranoy won the inconsequential last singles match to narrow the margin of defeat to 2-3. Second-seeded Alexander Zverev of Germany defeated Argentina Sebastian Baez 7-6, 6-3 to reach the pre-quarterfinals of the Rome Masters. Third-seed Rafael Nadal faced United States of America's John Isner in the round of 32 match. The King of Clay had an easy outing against the giant American, winning in straight sets 6-3, 6-1. After months of speculation, the cat is finally out of the bag. Erling Haaland is about to enter the next phase of his meteoric career this summer when he completes his transfer from Bundesliga club Borussia Dortmund to reigning Premier League champions Manchester City. According to reports, City has activated a release clause with 60 million euros to sign Haaland, and he will sign a 5-year contract worth £375,000 a week. And before we wrap this bulletin, let's take a relook at the headlines once again. Supreme Court orders stay on sedation law. New FIRs will not be registered till review. Next hearing in the 3rd week of July. Delhi High Court gives split verdict on declaring marital rape a crime. Says matter will have to be heard by the Supreme Court. Even critics can't deny that Prime Minister Modi is a phenomenon, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu at the release of the Modi at 20 Dreams Meet delivery. Vice President asserts that Modi has converted developmental initiatives into mass movements. Speaker of Lok Sabha visits Arunachal Pradesh, inauguration of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Conference on Thursday. And cyclonic storm Assani weakens, moves towards Andhra Pradesh. Heavy rains likely in Odisha, West Bengal. High alert in 5 districts, including Malkangiri. That's all we have in this bulletin tonight. To keep yourself updated, keep watching Sansad TV. Good night. Take very good care of yourselves. Namaskar.